here.
We're good.
Oh, we do. We have it. Super. Okay. So, welcome everyone to our September Upper Ridge Community Council agenda. And we have quite a few things to go through, so we'll just be on our way. We have the executive committee members here. They can either stand up and introduce themselves. We have Donna Bristol, John Stonebreaker, Patty Sammons, Dave Willoughby, Don Sipnicki. Awesome. And we're missing one, Ursula. Okay. So these are the people that if you have questions, concerns, that you would like to have addressed at a meeting at some time, and myself, Marcella. Come to us and we'll see what we can do about getting you the information that you need. So today we will start, with John Stonebreaker is going to give us an executive committee report. Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
So just to fill you in on what we've been talking about, we met last week. Donna and Lawyer are not here today. They're in a jurisdiction as a municipal utility district. But Lawyer wanted me to announce that we do have a new Facebook page. It's a closed page, and it's Upper Ridge Community Council as is shown on the agenda handout. Marcella graciously volunteered to facilitate the meeting today. We discussed changing our meeting date, so the next 3 meetings will be 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks from today. That will be October 24, November 21, and December 19, to avoid conflict with the upcoming holidays. We discussed setting tonight's agenda, which is packed once again. We talked about the progress on the Ridge Lives On celebration, which we'll be talking more about later on this program. We approved the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce request to have us join them as a member, try to strengthen our partnerships throughout this community, and possibly help bring more business up here. We discussed another partnership with a professed nonprofit community advocate and decided not to go into that right now until we get more information from them. We discussed priorities for future meetings, with insurance being a high priority that might happen in December or January. We talked more about the proposed community park, and Chris will be presenting more about that later. We talked about the issue of tree removal, which hopefully one of our other presenters will be able to give us more good news on later today. We wanted to get a direct update from Paradise Irrigation. They are very busy, so I will try to speak on what Kevin Phillips, their manager, has told me directly, that to try to put to rest some rumors. They're hoping to build a new dam upstream of the old Magalia Dam, which has structural issues, that will alleviate pressure on the dam and allow them to dedicate it solely to carrying the roadway, which will make it easier to hopefully expand it to 4 lanes. They are also discussing a partnership with Paradise Rec and Parks District, not only to manage the Paradise Lake facility, but a lot of their other property between Magalia Dam and Paradise Lake. We've had these proposals for a backbone trail that the community could actually use the publicly owned land around here. It looks like that's moving forward, but slowly. And for those of you who might be Paradise Irrigation District customers still paying readiness fee and this place up here, first, welcome to our community and our meeting. We'd also like to inform you that Paradise Irrigation has been having regular community recovery meetings. They don't want to have one up here, but I can tell you what's been happening down there, that most of their mains have been cleared. Some dead-end mains on dead-end streets still need to be cleared. They are intending to replace service laterals to burn properties as needed, either when somebody is living there temporarily or receives a building permit. They are in the process of testing all laterals to standing structures as their staffing permits, and they have increased staffing to accelerate that process. So it looks like there's good news down the hill, and we wish them all the best. We also discussed some other projects that USDA will be able to tell you about all of their wonderful projects, as we have recently been redesignated as a rural community and are now qualified for lots of rural development funds that will help people with standing homes improve those homes and help people with damaged homes repair those homes. I hope that's all I have to say for now, but I will be back later with an update on the fair.
Thank you, John. Okay, very nice. Sherry McCracken is standing in for Doug Teeter, and she's going to be telling us an update in Butte County, and she will be talking about trees.
Talk about trees. Yes, I will. I thank you for having me up here today. I'm standing in for Supervisor Teeter, who is at a conference right now. So did anyone see the press release that was sent out? Okay, a few people already know this. What we have is, as you know, the town and the county submitted a request through the state to FEMA. FEMA has finally responded. The 100% go-ahead is on trees on private property that threaten the public right-of-way, including the road. But don't be discouraged. And if we can provide them some more information to justify what we refer to as orphan roads, I think we're going to get that expanded. So I requested a meeting next week with the leadership from FEMA, the state, the town, and I are going to get in a room, and we're going to answer when we're done, because we're tired of the back and forth and letter writing and all that. So that is what is going on. I want to tell you, I'm going to step away, but I'm really loud, so you'll be able to hear me. Do we have a pen?
It should be up there on the dais.
Okay, you trust me not to use the wrong marker, right? Okay, I've been known to do that. So, let's say, okay. So camera, there's not really a pen there. I got chalk. Let's try this again. Maybe. There we go. So there's the road as part of my non-artistic ability. So what we thought when they said trees threatening public right-of-way, we thought that if it's a 100-foot tree, it has to be within 100 feet, right, of the easement, or the roadway to be taken out. I guess under OSHA requirements, you get 200% of the tree. So if it's a 100-foot tree that's 190 feet back, that is eligible. So what that means, obviously, is we have a for sure on some trees, and that distance, depending, it's the size of the tree. So if it's a 30-foot tree that's 50 feet back, it can come out. If it's a 100-foot tree, 190 feet back, 199.9 feet back, it can come out. So that helps some. It's not everything. And then the thing that we are sitting down with maps and data and all kinds of stuff, my dotted line, I'll call it an orphan road. Private road not maintained by a public entity, but traversed. We're saying it's part of the circulation of the community. It's traversed by the public. It's traversed by public safety, UPS, people go down it, or there's a easement for some utility. So we're throwing everything at the wall to get as many of those private roads. Will we get 100%? No. But will we get more than we have today? Yes. So that's where we are. The trees, if you don't end up meeting the criteria of trees right around your home or around your building site, we're partnering with Butte Fire Safety Council, CAL FIRE, looking at what are those other programs. Once we know what the FEMA is going to pay for, there's a lot of interest with private funding to come in and help with the trees that FEMA won't pay for. But what's holding it up is we don't want to use private money, right, if FEMA's going to cover it. So we got to get that answer from FEMA, and then we know how to get them in. Yeah, sorry.
That's fabulous information. I was just wondering if your house was safe during the campfire, that the trees on your property meet the criteria, but that are still in good shape, but still want taken out because they're next to your house, would that be part of this program?
So these, an arborist under FEMA rules, we gotta follow their rules, so they don't come back and tell us we gotta pay a bunch of money back. An arborist, or I believe a forester, and it will be either one you hire, or one, if you sign up for the state removal program, they're gonna do a program just like debris, will come in and say, this is a hazard tree, it needs to go. This one's not hazardous, it doesn't need to go, but it will be a certified professional arborist or forester. Right now, I think it's an arborist that will determine that. If you just have a tree you don't like because you don't want it near the house anymore, that's probably not going to get FEMA funding, but that doesn't mean there aren't other programs maybe to help you out. I don't know all the details. There's a whole lot of coordination that has to happen, but we're all kind of waiting to say, what's FEMA going to pay for so we don't waste our other resources on those trees?
Yes, and when we find out, then we will find out how to access those funds, how we can,
So,
some site to go to.
I can give you, yes, we are being very optimistic, and we're getting a right of entry center. So any of you that dealt with the right of entry form for the state debris removal program, the good news is right of entry for tree removal is much easier and simpler. You'll sign a right of entry form, and the state will come up and remove, they'll come up and assess first, which are the hazard trees, then they will remove them and they will take them from your property. The stumps will not be pulled out. Under FEMA guidelines, the stumps aren't hazardous. I would beg to differ because I trip, but they're not going to fall on the public. We have to watch what we want. So that's what we have right now. No, we are advocating and pushing to get eligible trees as broadly defined as we can, including on some private roads, not all. All righty? And then helping coordinate all those other resources. So what we hope to do, I shut off here, the right of entry centers will open, we hope, on October 23rd. Write that in pencil, just in case it's 24th or something. We will have a site for turning in right of entry forms on the ridge. I think it will be in probably at the Paradise Library to start with, where we're doing permits right now. And then it may move to the brick, which I don't remember what the building. Resiliency Center. In Paradise. So we'll have a site up here, you can turn your paperwork in, you don't have to go to Oroville. We'll have a site in Chico, and we'll have a site in Oroville. It will be much easier than what the debris right of entry was, and partially because we've all been through it now, partially because it's just simpler than what debris with all the different assessments and hazardous materials. So end of October, that will be available. I know the state is anxiously waiting to throw an RFP out on the street so they can get contractors on board. Cal Recycle will be in charge of those contractors again. And we are still trying to solve the issue of what do you do with all those trees. Many of them are not salvageable or marketable, so there's no value in them. I know that there is a site in Paradise being looked at for what's called an air curtain incinerator, which is something I just learned about 2 months ago, the things we learn during disasters. And I am working on a letter right now from our board to Cal EPA and the Air Resources Board to suspend some statutes so that that can be placed on that little green waste facility, so that what happens then, the logs can go there and vegetation, it gets burned down, and then we can put it in the landfill because you can't throw the logs in there, but you put the ash in there. So lots of people trying to get a lot of things done by the end of October.
What was the name of that incinerator?
It's an I've heard it called air curtain burner and air curtain incinerator. First time I heard it, I pictured like shower curtains, and I didn't quite get it, but it's almost like a big, what are those, Connex box? It looks like a big metal box, but it puts stuff down pretty quickly, and it's not as polluting as just burning things openly, but there are some regulations at the state that have to be waived, and so we'll be pushing on the Secretary of Cal EPA. It's as silly a technicality as you can only use it above 1,500 feet, and the site's at 1,475. Hey, there wasn't a That's our new motto, yes. And then,
Okay, she asked about trees, and it's very expensive to take trees
Yeah.
down, unfortunately, and we live in an area. Now, is there any, company, organization, or anything that can be brought together to help people be able to afford to clean this forest out so it doesn't happen to us?
yeah, so there, like I said, there's a whole bunch of people trying to do a bunch of things, waiting to see what the government's gonna cover first, and then we'll pull those resources together. We will have a lot of community meetings. All of those resources will be at the community meetings, so you can connect with them, because different people are eligible for different resources. I know the Fire Safe Council is really pushing to get money, private money, so they can come in and take whatever trees out that we want. So the answer is yes, but do I have all the details? No. Okay. No? Oh, you good? Yes.
And is in the priority index, is there anything for the standing homes that have bird trees all in the Knox
So the town and the county, Carolina County, will be passing an ordinance that says those trees aren't allowed. You get to sign up for the state program, or you get to sign what we'll call an inspection permit that says, I already took my trees out, come on up, see, they're gone, okay, you're good, you're in, you meet the rules of the ordinance. Property owners that either don't want to do anything or have vanished, we will then do abatement, and the county will come in and take those trees down. Once again, just the ones that meet the FEMA eligibility requirements. And then I know that our board, if you're interested, will be talking, I think on October 22nd, possibly giving some direction to our fire chief for an ordinance that takes care of that issue of my neighbor's trees could fall on my home and they're not being good neighbors, to allow the 100-foot clearance, all of that. So I don't know if it will pass, but I know the discussion will happen and there will probably be direction to the fire chief to come back with an ordinance. So a lot of the things in the work, and if I'm talking like a bureaucrat, tell me that I'm speaking English. Is that clear?
Yep.
Clear as mud? Anything else you have for the county? Yes.
I have one question, and I'm not sure that you're the right person, but I'm going to address it.
Okay.
I drive Skyway, and when they first came through, they took out a lot of trees, but there are some very large, very dead trees, and we are coming into winter. It's a very strong concern of mine that they're going to come down and take out people.
So on the Skyway, if they're in the town's right of way, the town has an arborist right now evaluating those. The town will take them down. If they're in the county, we have the same thing. We have an arborist going out. We have contractors ready, and then we'll take those trees down. If they're on private property, there is a potential, if you call public works, and it's like leaning and it's about to drop, that they can go on there under emergency powers, but those are very, we can use those very, it's hard to use. So they're already laying down on the road? Oh, it could come down. So some of them may get taken care of by this. If they're in public right of way, the town or the county is in the process of taking those out, I think with an estimate of the ones we can take out without property owner permission by December, I think is the goal. So I don't know, without seeing the specific tree, what it will fit under. If it's town jurisdiction, call it town. If it's county, call public works if you have a concern and they keep their eyes on it. To say, do we have any authority to go take that, or is that a property owner that needs to be contacted? I wish I had a better answer for you. But yeah, 200% of the tree height. So 100, we go 200 feet back and take out 100-foot trees. 30-foot trees, we go 60 feet back and take out 200%.
Excellent. Thank you.
Was that helpful?
That was very, very helpful. We were just wondering about the tree situation on so many levels.
We've been wondering, so I'm glad I was right. Thank you.
The good news is it just takes time. The better news is we are still talking about it, so it's not being forgotten. Next on our agenda, Denise is going to tell us about the medical services on the bridge. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Denise Gunderson, representing Misfire Mobile Clinic. I'm just one piece of a group of people trying to get healthcare back up into the Ridge. So we had a free clinic day on September 8th at the Magalia Baptist Church. We saw 25 people in 4 hours. As expected, we're seeing more and more mental health concerns and issues as we're moving up to the 1-year mark. Prescriptions, little complaints, aches and pains, those are things we dealt with too. Our next clinic day will be October 20th. We're going to have a change of location. This is going to be at the Magalia Community Church, and we're going to have extended hours from 9 to 3. And this is thanks to Shell. I don't know if she's here tonight. Okay, well, there's a force to be reckoned with. And Eddie from California Hope. They were really pushing to, include this facility, and we're pretty excited about that. And again, we're inside, yay, we're in a little firehouse, and it's total luxury compared to pop-ups. One of the extra resources that we've been doing the last couple of clinics is having insurance people there. We have Ample Health, Adventist Health, and we have an independent contractor. And at this last clinic, they saw 20 people who were either trying to reestablish insurance or get insurance. And on a personal note, this made me really happy because this is just people kind of, looking forward. They're kind of out of the crisis mode. They're trying to start to take control of their lives again. Not wait until they're really sick and end up in the ER with just a huge emergency bill. So, small steps. Everything is small steps. The freestanding ER, I think everyone knows that did pass both houses. Last I heard, it's on the governor's desk. John, you know everything. Has he signed it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That's so exciting. I thought Mons Jensen would be here tonight. He's the Adventist Health representative, and he gives much more detail. I was at a meeting on Monday. Very interesting. It was a group of people that were doing disaster preparedness for elderly and disabled, handicapped people, and how they often, have such different needs. And anyhow, there was one of my charge nurses from the emergency room was there, and I talked to him. And man, he's ready to go, and he is a great charge nurse. He wants, he said, hopefully 18 months. They need to rebuild, get the permits, get the staff. And he said he'll be there day one taking care of people. So that was a really positive thing. November 9th, I think everybody knows that's going to be the remembrance up here at the Pine Ridge School. MedSpire has been asked to provide first aid, which we will do to the best of our ability. And hopefully we will be doing a flu clinic. And I have to admit, as a very long career as a nurse, I've done many, many things, but I've never done a flu clinic. So I started my research this week with the CDC and public health and whoever else I can pull in information so we can get some flu vaccines and keep our community healthy through the winter. We will have another free mobile clinic in November. I don't know the date yet, but we'll get back to that. And we do have, finally, a website where you can go on, look at information, find out about us, volunteer if you have some medical experience or not. We'll put you to work. Medspire.org. And that's all I have.
Oh, super.
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you so much. Our next, Chris Rom is going to tell us about the Magalia Community Park Foundation update. Let's hear about the park.
All right, good evening. There's been so much that's gone on since the last meeting here that I've got a car full like that, and I'm going to keep it as brief as I can. So first of all, with the whole DeSable Range, DeSable Hill, what came of that is, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, but there was a board, there was a committee at that time that was set up to be basically for our community center in Magalia, to start the community center. And when that fell through up there, they merged with Park on the Green. And so we decided to become a 501c3. We have filed for that status. We haven't got it yet. But we are to be known as the Magalia Community Park Foundation. This is an important step because obviously it will put us in a stronger position to go for grants, whether it's private donors or state grants or wherever we're getting them from. We'll have a little bit more clout there, so that's good news. We've had 2 planning meetings in the community so far, and I just want to clarify for everybody so that all of you and everybody knows that these are not invite-only meetings, and it's not that we necessarily have every single person is an officer in it or anything like that. We want as much input from the community as possible. Parents with children, anyone of any age and any background who lives in Magalia, who is concerned about this property over here on this board, which you can look at after the meeting tonight. And please ask me any questions after the meeting if you have them. If you have any input on it, on planning, perhaps you might know of donors who might be interested in helping us fund the project, we'd love to talk to you. And we'd love to have you on board and come to our planning meetings. The next one we're going to have is on Tuesday, October 15th. So you can mark that down if you're interested in coming. We have feelers out right now for potential donors. There's one potential serious one. Can't go into details yet. We don't know where it's going to lead. We've been talking to the owner of the golf course. As a matter of fact, I just had a meeting this morning with Brian and Bob. They're getting antsy because we keep going back to them with questions about the facility, and they're wondering, okay, show us the money. So we're getting closer to the point where, for example, Izzy's has just reopened, or they will be reopening October 1st. And so that's really good news. What's happened is Cal OES has released the parcel back to the Portinos, so they can open that, and they're actively marketing the clubhouse building. That's the building that we're targeting as the community center for Magalia. And so that means we need, this is only news as of today, as of the meeting I had this morning. Donna does not even know this, but we need to get a jump on getting that building. Bob is willing to negotiate with us and the funder so that we can get in there and start offering some programs and classes, and maybe even Medspire will come in too, and we can make it available for them. That'd be wonderful. Let's see, PRPD, that's Paradise Recreation and Park District. So I've been to their last meeting that was held just a couple weeks ago, or last week rather, and they are starting to come around a little bit to seeing things as far as their long-term strategic objective is. They normally have a 10-year plan at about this point. Like, for example, in 2009, it's 2019 now, they had a 10-year plan, and one of those projects was going to be Lake Ridge, and obviously that has not come through just yet. They're still writing grants and trying to get that going. But I'm happy to say that with all the efforts we've done in the last 8 months, they have included the golf course as a potential project as well on their radar. It's on their radar. So that's a big win, and I'll take it. We'll take anything that we can get at this point for that. So that's the news that I have. Are there any questions? I can take a couple real quick.
You mentioned your meeting Tuesday, October 15th. Where would that be at and time and that kind of
At this point in time, we're saying it's going to be here.
Okay.
Seventh-day Adventist Church Hall at 6 o'clock.
Perfect. Thanks.
You bet. If that changes, we'll post it on our Facebook page. It's called Park on the Green. That's our social media campaign. So it's Park on the Green on Facebook, and we'll have announcements there if there's a change, or if we have an earlier meeting, or there's some big news to report. We'll certainly be the first to have that. Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
All good news. All good news there. Okay, so Tammy Lazure and Thomas Thompson, are they here? Are you them? Oh, terrific. Okay, so these two are going to give us a presentation. They're from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Single-Family Housing Programs, and Business Programs. They've got some good news for us. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much for extending the invitation for us to come up and talk with you a little bit today with some of our resources that we're going to be able to share for you.
First of all, just to start off, U.S. Department of Agriculture is a federal agency. Why are we talking about business and housing, right? So we are a very small piece called rural development under U.S. Department of Agriculture. And we finance a lot of different types of projects, including like your community center, maybe, a lot of different types of nonprofits. We had the opportunity to meet with your board, and thankfully that was, I think, very well received. You know, trying to give us some information that we would need to move forward. We also have financing that is available for businesses, and then Thomas will be, I'll segue over to him because I think you're going to be most interested in learning more about the single-family housing and how to get some money to help you with rebuilding or some other types of repairs, things like that. So I just want to let you know who rural development is and why we're here, because otherwise it makes no sense. But I did just let you know on our table back there, we do have everything we're going to talk about today, a lot of flyers. Feel free to take whatever you'd like. If it's not of interest to you, but you know someone else that might be interested, please feel free to take copies. We're happy to do it. We've got our cards here. If you don't see a copy or you have another question, you're welcome to take our cards and get a hold of us, and we'll do the best we can to find the information you need. So, my specialty, I've been working with the USDA for about 11 years. I know I should have been here for like 50 years based on the way I look, but it's only 11 years. I had prior experience with other lenders and what have you in my life. But I work primarily with the Business and Industry Loan Guarantee Program. And what that means is we don't have direct money. This is for people that are in business or looking to start a business. Are there any people in here that are that, you know, great, thank you. So thank you for coming tonight as well. But we have financing. It's not a direct program. It means you go to your lender first, and we offer guarantee to the lender. So there might be a reason, numerous reasons why a lender would say, well, we want a government guarantee to help us take this loan. And it might be because of the collateral. It might be the situation here where you've got a year's worth of time where you might not have had any income. And so there's a little bit of, a little bit of concern on the bank side. So how can we help? By having government guarantee come in, and that kind of alleviates and mitigates that risk for a bank. It could be based on the type of project you have, collateral, the type of business you have, what have you. So we are very big, so to speak, as far as in California. We have a lending limit of up to $10 million, which is pretty generous. There is no minimum loan size. Our average loan size, the program I work with, Business and Industry, is about $3 million, but we do have two other opportunities for smaller loans. The Rural Micro Enterprise Assistance Program, which I have flyers back there, for loans less than $50,000. And then we also have the Intermediary Lending Program for loans less than $150,000. And those are administered from different agencies that have borrowed money from us. So I have those flyers back there so you can contact them directly to find out what their criteria is. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking to you more specifically about, generally speaking, the larger loan sizes. Although we have had a project up here on the ridge, it was less than $150,000 under this program. So it can work based on the lender and what makes sense for your project. So for us, this area has always been eligible under business programs. For us, under business programs, 50,000 and under in population has always been considered rural. It was the single-family housing and the other programs that had the population difficulty that had to be approved. We can finance almost anything: wholesale, retail, service, manufacturing, those types of things, new or existing businesses. We do have minimum equity requirements, and we also have collateral requirements. Almost all types of businesses are eligible: proprietorships, LLCs, corporations, what have you. So that's not a problem. We also can finance federally recognized tribal groups and some nonprofits under this program. And we can finance almost anything that a business would need: real estate, maybe even just to refinance, buying equipment, working capital, inventory, basically anything. And then based on the use of the loan proceeds determines the eligible term, and then you are going to negotiate with your bank, because it's a bank loan, the interest rate. We don't have any dictation over that. So it's going to be whatever the current market rate is. We can go up to 30 years on real estate, which is pretty nice. And then we can go up to 15 years for equipment, or we can go up to 7 years for working capital, and we can blend all those things. We can have multiple uses for the money. We're basing that term, long term, on how the money is being used, the loan proceeds. And we'll work, like I said, with your bank. Go to your bank first. That's how you get started. You say, hey, I've got this project, and I need some help financing it. And then they'll say, hey, you know, we think we might like to use the USDA program for that. Or they might say, we have another agency, federal agency that helps small businesses, and they're relegated to small, is the Small Business Administration. You might have heard of them, and they have a very similar program. They've never cared whether or not you're rural or not. They're looking for economic development purposes, just like we are. How are we helping to create or retain jobs in the area? And I did bring some magazines from SBA also, so that you're welcome to take that. Their magazine is very specific to the Northern California region, and it has a wealth of resource information. So again, feel free to take anything you'd like, and we're happy to share. If you need help putting a business plan together, your tax dollars at work, it is nothing, costs you nothing to go to the Small Business Development Center through Butte College. They're here in Chico, 895-9017. They're on Notre Dame Boulevard. They're in the old Austin's Furniture Building, and they are happy to help you. If it's an ag production project, like I said, I've got some farm loan, just the basic farm loan programs that are out there. But farm loans are eligible not under our program, but under Farm Service Agency, which is another sister agency. And I work at the Oroville field office, and in Oroville we have the Farm Service Agency as well as rural development housing folks, and we also have business folks, myself, and multifamily housing, which is the other thing I wanted to make you aware of. So if you know somebody that had been in an apartment complex or is looking for a place to live that's not ready for a house, there is what's called our multifamily housing program, which is, if they're eligible, it's for very low-income people. We have across the country various apartment complexes that we have financed. We don't own them, we don't manage them, but we have financed them. So we have this list of apartments complexes throughout the country that maybe folks can be eligible to sign up. It's kind of like Section 8, if you've ever heard that from your HUD. Very similar. And then they would be able to perhaps qualify and be able to get into one of those facilities. If they were a victim of the campfire survivor, then we're issuing what's called a letter of priority entitlement for those folks. And then if they, let's say for example, they find another apartment complex, it's, I don't know, let's just say it's in Nevada somewhere, and they get a hold of those folks and they say, well, we're full up, but we have a waiting list. This letter of priority entitlement will put them at the top of the list. So I brought some flyers regarding that as well, just to let you know. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Thomas Thompson, my colleague. He actually came all the way from Davis, and we're happy to have him because he's going to answer, I think, the majority of your questions. But I'm going to be back here. You're welcome to come by, ask me any questions. I'll do my best to answer. And like I said, feel free to take any materials, business cards, or whatever you would like. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tammy. She pretty much explained what the USDA does. By the way, I'm Thomas Thompson. A little bit about myself. I've gone through 3 of these type of situations at the Small Business Administration, where Hurricane Maria, for Michael, and then for Super Typhoon Yusuf with Guam and Saipan. Disaster relief loans for those areas there. But what we have here today for you is how we're going to get this started again for you guys. And I know trees have been one of the hot buttons that I'm getting my calls for what are the trees going to do. What we're trying to work with is that the state and the other programs are going to take these trees out first, and then we're trying to see what's left over, what we can do to assist to remove excess trees that might be near the property that are health and safety hazards. That's how we direct most of our programs, is through health and safety programs. If it's something where one of our grant programs, for example, if you're 62 years and older and you do not have the ability to repay any nominal fee, mortgage loan or a loan for to get the repairs to your home, there's a $10,000 grant. So we must be 62 years of age or older. There's a $10,000 grant. It is to be repairing your home for health and safety issues. For example, failed septic, failed well, your roof needs to be replaced. The insurance company is requiring your roof to be replaced because it's old enough that you can't get insurance until you do. We can step in and help you on that as well. So the $10,000 grant for 62 years or older. We also can put in another $40,000 on a low-interest loan for low to very low-income applicants. You must be the owner-occupant You must own the house, you must own the land. It cannot be in a mobile home. Excuse me, my voice is gone today. Cannot be in a mobile home park, so you have to own the land. And what this will do would be a 20-year loan at 1% interest rate. Okay, we can make the combination up to $50,000. So you have a $40,000 loan, and you have a $10,000 grant. And that's good money to help you get your house fixed, guys. Okay? Again, there's at the state level, working with the federal level, looking at that tree issue. That's the hot button, because I know they always call me about their insurance policies. And we're looking into that as well. So, with the Home Repair Loan and Grant Pilot Program, it is designed to help repair loan and increases the maximum amount of the assistance available to very low-income homeowners. And for a low-income homeowner here in Butte County, family of 1 to 4, we're talking $33,250. We consider that 50% of the area's median income. And if you're a 5 to 8 person family, $43,900 is what we're considered as the below the 50% of the area median. You're applicable. You can apply for these programs. So you must be the homeowner, the lot owner, and occupy the house. In the grants I already mentioned, 62 years age or older. And again, maximum loan amount $40,000, grant $10,000, combined to $50,000. To get started with the grant program is pretty simple. I have my flyers back there. I have my business cards back there. Just pick it up, give me a call, grab the flyer, and just read what we have on this for you. Also, what we can do is the purchase of a single-family home for low to very low-income applicants. No cash down payment, no mortgage insurance, no closing costs. I mean, we have a $450 appraisal, $86 tax service, and a $25 credit report. There are no commissions on our loans. Okay, so that allows people to get into a home who they thought they never could before. Paradise is eligible, Chico is not, Thermalito and Orville, some of that area is eligible, but rural communities of less than 35,000 people generally will be eligible for our programs. So we get down to the nitty-gritty and get people into homes, guys, and we help them keep their homes in a safe, sanitary, repaired condition, because this is your taxpayer dollars that's coming back to you to help you fix your homes. If there's damage to the fire, you're short of the insurance funds in order to complete your construction project, we can step in, okay, and help with the completion of your construction. We also do ground-up construction. It's just like any other lender, okay, but we're going to be more liberal about our underwriting guidelines. We're going to be asking you to get all the same plans you would for anybody else. If the county approved on it and you're ready to rock and roll, you've got a nice developer who's going to help you build this, we will do the funding on this. Very liberal financing on it. Our loans can go up to 38 years at an interest rate of less than, say, 1%. We also subsidize the payments. This gets people into homes so they normally couldn't afford to get into a home before. So I'd just like for you to be aware that these programs exist. They've always existed since about 1939. Since the Great Depression areas, when the rural communities were being vacated, this is how we repopulated our rural areas, is by making homeowners out of these guys. So if it's something you're interested in, we have the purchase, we have brand new construction, but I do want to say one thing, the caveat on a manufactured home. This is my biggest question I get. You must own the land that it's going to go on. It's going to go on a permanent foundation. You could buy the land, put it on a permanent foundation, but when you have a mobile home dealer, they have to do the project start to finish. We do not do construction draws like a normal construction loan. We would only do a turnkey. Once you're ready for the keys and occupancy, we will pay off that developer. So you can find a developer who's willing to take the project on himself, and he'll get paid at the end of the project, during the course of the, manufacturing, at the end of the construction project. But on a standard stick construction, we will do draws. Okay, so we can help you build the new house on that. We can get a manufactured home on that land. We can fix your well, your septic, hopefully get the trees. Once that's all ironed out, that's still a hot button everywhere. So that's what we have to offer at the USDA.
Wow.
Okay, and it's some good stuff, guys. You know, this is good stuff. I mean, the $10,000 grant, I've been just going crazy on applications for that project. And it's that simple. And I need to see if anybody has any questions.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Does your grant cover fire mitigation, flood we have a family home, we would like to, like I know this, not going at all, but I might want to put, fireproof, siding up, something to mitigate, the next inferno.
The biggest questions I've been getting is mitigation for future fire. We're gonna go with what the insurance companies are actually having you. If you have a roof that's over, I think, 10 or 15 years old, or looks obviously worn for some reason, they're gonna require you to replace that roof, or they're gonna get you insurance policy. Has anybody been hearing that already? We have new soffits that are gonna be a little bit more fire resistant. That's gonna be in there. We're working on those game plans now, where that, it's a health and safety. If it comes under health and safety, then that's where we're gonna attack this beast, okay? So that's in the works too. We're trying to see who's gonna do what first, and then we can step in, because they'll be able to iron everything out. Trying to find out where the money's coming from. We want to make the best use of the money and get you guys back normal again, if that's even possible, but, okay? Yeah. There you go, I like that, yeah. The flyers are in the back, and if there's any questions, please let me know.
I found that quite interesting. Really good stuff out there. Michael Greer is going to be presenting for Paradise Unified School District. Board update. Thank you so much.
Needless to say, we have one word right now in our district, and that's flexibility. As most of you probably know, we have lost our superintendent. She had handed in a letter of resignation. So we're in the process of the board getting a new superintendent. Our high school principal will be leaving also because he was retired, and under his stirs for teacher retirement, he is not eligible to continue. So we will be hearing. So you might have heard already, but on Monday, word will be going out who we have selected for the principal for Paradise High School. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on. We're in the process of actually downsizing administration because we have a lot fewer kids. And we know down the road that we're going to have to look at what type of money in our budget is for the retiree health care, and all the other things that go along with it. So we're looking at these different things that are taking place. One of the things also flexibility was that Cedarwood, our schools closed yesterday with no power. Cedarwood finally got power today at 11 o'clock. So our kids did stay there. The teachers did do other things with them outside where it was light and so forth. And we did manage to get meals there. And that's what I say, we're being very flexible because we have to be. The other thing that actually came to pass because of the last time I was here, we are now starting a program on our job applications, which are generally done on EdJoin, which is computer-based, which generally brings people from all over for jobs. We're now going to start hopefully carrying those applications in our local schools. Okay, whether it's for AIDS, whether it's for Lester, whatever, because we've found that a lot of the local people don't know anything about EdJoin or how to go on it and so forth. When they get there, it can be confusing. And so we thought, well, that's silly. We want to employ the people that are here. So let's get some applications on our local school sites for those openings so we don't have to worry so much about the EdJoin and everything else that goes along with it. The only other thing that I have is I'm glad to make the decision to go with Pine Ridge for the festival that Ridge lives on. It is something I think that fits it very well, and we're very happy to be able to have you use that because I think it'll really work out well doing that. Are there any questions I can answer? Good.
Thanks, buddy. Okay.
Take care.
We have, Dave has some questions. So he's going to come up here and ask some questions.
guys know me. For those that you don't, my name's Dave William with the Harbor Ridge Community Council. And I was asked to fill in for Elaine tonight. She's our webmaster, if you will. She's afraid that the word's not getting out the way as well as she'd like to see it happen. So, first off, how many people are on the internet? Or, Facebook? Okay, and how about the internet? I mean, you guys go on the internet and look at stuff, okay. Well, if you're not getting our newsletter, let us know. We'll get your URL and all that into our database so we can make sure that you get it. Are you guys receiving the newsletter and other information? Okay, good. Yeah, that's what Lori was worried about. She's sitting over there playing with computers. She doesn't get much feedback, so she was just want to make sure that everybody was getting it. One of the other things we've done is to communicate with our group, and what I'm up here for is find out if there's any way we can communicate better with them. How can we get the word out there? If you guys have any ideas, we'd appreciate it. One of the things we're doing is we're going around and putting up signs all throughout town. Have you guys seen the signs? Yeah. We've got some people that are putting up some signs, and you got to look for them.
You know what? That's because they're at the stop sign.
Yeah.
They're little.
They're small. But,
You need bright colors and big letters.
Well, we're doing this out of pocket, so we're doing the best we can with what we got. So yes, ma'am.
I think that after the Ridge Blows On party, everybody will know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you have any ideas or anything, love to hear you voice them, or
Can you write a website?
I can do better than that. I can point it out to you. Up here at the top, in blue, on the agenda sheet, it's upperridgeorganization.com or .org, and this is where you can find whatever you need. Whatever we've got, we put it on. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Communication is always been an issue on the ridge. And now we have Tammy Waller with a Downtown Howler update, and she is all about communication.
So it is official. The first issue went out in the beginning of September. We're getting ready to do the second issue next week. An idea for community, definitely, if somebody wanted to write an article on any organization. You don't have to be Shakespeare, just an update on what your organization is doing. I would be more than happy, nearly begging you to go ahead and do that. The online version is finally up as well. That just went up actually just a few days ago. Had some challenges, but that also has classified ads. Any advertising now will also be online as well. And again, definitely looking for volunteers to write. And still taking orders for the official, not today, Campfire 2018 Dogtown Howler shirts. If you'd like, you can see me over at the other side on the table over there. Thank you.
And by the way, there's a section in the Downtown Howler for letters to the editor as well, if you have some opinions that you would like to speak up about. Oh, goody. So we're going to bring John back and about that celebration on November 9th. So here we go.
Okay,
So we have been planning for some months to have an event up here to commemorate what happened last November and to celebrate what has happened since. We have been participating in a group organized by Paradise Chamber that's been meeting regularly in Paradise, as there's a number of events going on throughout all the affected communities. So our event is going to be called The Ridge Lives On. It will be November 9th from 10 to 4. PUSD has graciously offered the Pine Ridge School facility. So that will be our site. We have all sorts of activities planned. There's been tremendous support from the community, both here on the Upper Ridge and outside, people offering to volunteer, but we can always use more help. So let's try to go through all the things that we're doing. Deborah Franklin has recently stepped up to organize kids programs. The schools are also going to have participation from the students. They are doing songs and poetry, and we're hoping to invite groups to participate, and then there's going to be all sorts of activities, fun activities for the kids as well. There's going to be musical performances and hoping to get crafts, artisans, vendors, support from community organizations that can present the information on their organizations here on the Ridge. We're going to have lots of caregivers like the Cal Hope people and pastors from Chico coming up to offer support for anybody who might be having strong emotions on that day. The meetings have been mostly talking about the logistics of getting a site and how we're going to get people there and all the things that we need to do and where will the parking be, that hoping to have overflow parking, but a lot of things are still up in the air as things have been changing very quickly. We have hopefully enough time to get everything together, and we will have a lot more information next month as things develop. We have a great fiscal partner in St. John's Episcopal in Chico that they have been supporting the long-term recovery group and a number of other recovery groups down there. And Richard Yale from the Spiritual and Emotional Wellness Group has been coming up here to coordinate with us, and they've pledged us some seed money. And North Valley Community Foundation and the Butte Strong Fund have pledged money to the overarching umbrella group run by the Chamber that, again, there's all sorts of events happening here and in Paradise and in Centerville, so that everything that people need to discuss and all the things, I'm getting emotional now. So there will be specifically commemorations and places to think about what's been lost, and then the course of the weekend will go from what has happened in the past to what is happening in the present to what we hope to see in the future. And so we are going to be mostly looking forward and trying to celebrate all the good things that we still have here and remind people, not just our neighbors here on the Upper Ridge, but in Paradise and the media, which will be coming for the anniversary events, that this is still a great place to live. We should also mention, Denise mentioned that MedSpire will be offering a health clinic and first aid at the event, and we're still in communications with all sorts of agencies in the county to make sure that we're going to have traffic control and security and all of that worked out. And I should definitely credit Liz Wolf and her graphic design for putting together the flyer and posters that can be posted in businesses to increase awareness of the event. And we're talking about media connections both with public radio and with our print media here, and trying to make sure that everyone knows that this wonderful thing is going to be happening on November 9th on the Upper Ridge. Please have everyone come.
and maybe some of the adults that like it, like me. Oh, you're gonna come up and,
I'll just make just a little comment.
oh, okay, yes. Deborah's gonna comment on
That's
this.
gonna make her favorite, a little sweet project.
There's the list.
You know, when you talk to Donna and you say, oh, how can I help you? Well, now I'm running the kids area for the festival. One of the things that we're gonna do is a cakewalk. So I sent this around a little bit earlier, but I realized I'm taking care of a 2-year-old for 4 days, so my brain's not really there. So I'm asking people to write down their name and phone number if you'd like to donate a baked good for our cakewalk. And just cake, pie, cookies, you could buy something if you wanted or whatever. And it's just gonna be an old-fashioned day. We're also gonna try and do like a little private area for mothers with infants. We're gonna have places for older kids. I just heard about a photo booth might be fun for some of the older kids. We're gonna see if we can get a hold of something like that. But please come. I'm swept up. It's just a tidal wave of fun. You guys are gonna have to come.
So this is out on the information table, if you want to sign up on your way out.
Awesome, thank you. And also, I believe, is it Cal Fire that's donating hot dogs? Masons are donating free hot dogs, one free hot dog for the kids.
For the kids.
For the kids. Yeah. So, yeah. Very much looking forward to that. Okay. Patty Sammons is our zone captain. She has some things to say.
Hi, I'm Patty Sammons, South Pine Zone Captain. And first, can I ask how many people here from Lower Magalia, from the Birdscar area? Okay, so what I want to do is invite all of you to reach out to people that live and have recently lost their homes in the Birdscar area of Magalia. They're feeling very isolated. The power outage recently has caused a lot of post-trauma. And we don't want it to feel alone. We're here in this together, and we can really use the support and help of the people that are up here. So we appreciate if you can reach out if you know someone in that area. Just make sure they're doing okay, and ask them, if they need anything. We sure appreciate it. So we had a block party on August 24th. It was a great success. We had almost 100 people there, and we had a really good time. We were able to give each other our contact information, and what has really helped us through these dark days that we've had the last couple of days is we have really built some strong, intimate relationships with our neighbors. I can't believe how many people reached out to me and asked me if I wanted the last of their warm water so that I could have a shower for work. If not for the fire, right? So I would like to just encourage everybody to come together in their zones. North Pine Zone, it does not have a zone captain. It was affected by the fire as far as losing so many homes. So we could really use a volunteer for that area. And I also want to encourage everybody in the POA to go to their Friday night community dinners. That's a place where we can come together and get to know our neighbors as well. Thank you very much. Excuse me?
Do you want to talk about Gina's bar?
Oh, yes. Dr. Gina Solomon, she is working on a project regarding water contamination in the Birdscar footprint. And so I do have a flyer here for anybody that might be interested in having their water tested inside the indoor plumbing, inside their standing home. There's no charge, and she's checking for other things besides benzene and to see how the water was affected within the Birdscar. If you need her information, I have it here, or feel free to come and see me after the meeting. Thank you.
About power going out and how it would affect that area again. So, Pam, and we have a presentation on the Good Food Brigade, getting good organic farm fresh food up on the ridge. Super, thank you. She has said this is your Pam, yeah? I am. Pam Larry, she's going to talk about it. Thank you. everybody. A little bit about me. I've worked on healthy food issues for about 8 years now. And then when the fire happened and when I started learning more about the food system in general, like doing a really deep dive, I decided to stick around Chico and Paradise and the Ridge in Butte County and devote the rest of my life, however long that is, to creating a strong local food system here in Butte County and the region in the North State. How many of you had to rely on the DeSabla Emergency Food Bank group? Yeah. How many of you feel like we have a really secure, safe and secure food supply in the United States? And that things will remain the same for a long time? Well, things have changed drastically over the last 50 years, and we now have a global food supply, and most of the food is imported. Like our area, we are an ag area, but we export most of our stuff. I call them a commodity. Very little of the food that's grown here actually stays here and is consumed here. I don't know how much you know about this, but grocery stores only generally stock for 3 days. They don't want their stuff to go bad. And if there's any kind of a panic, that turns into hours. And then there's no more food. We've, in our area, have experienced the unthinkable. And, the beginning of my talk is a little scare-producing. I feel kind of like, Pam Revere, talking about stuff and trying to help folks understand what I look at every day, because not everybody has time to do this every day because it's so big. But our world food supply is very fragile because we're all connected to each other now, and so food prices are very, very volatile. There was a computer-generated game, they called it, done by some of the largest food producers on the planet and government agencies and stuff like that. And given, they would feed in these, conditions that would happen. And in that game, they determined that food prices could go up as much as 400% by 2026 to 2030. Just this year, by May, food prices had gone up 4.7%. How many of you know that in the Corn Belt, less than 50% of the corn has been planted this year because of all of the flooding that happened, and now a good portion of that is in a drought, so that's going to be a really big deal. But our country isn't the only country experiencing this. Australia, Korea, China, India, Europe, Africa, and basically every continent has droughts going on, and the food supplies are getting pretty tenuous. I don't know if you've heard about the pig Ebola going on over in Asia, where they are anticipating at least 3 million hogs being killed. Which you may say, well, I don't eat meat. But it impacts the whole world supply. Okay, so I'm just trying to bring awareness to what's happening in the world and how we in the United States are really lucky. We go in the grocery store and we see all this food, and it's really hard to imagine that it could be anything other than what it is. And I would like to ask, what would have happened if you guys hadn't, had been completely cut off? Because I heard that a lot of McGilly was cut off for like 3 weeks. What would have happened if if it was longer? What would have happened if all those great folks that were bringing food here couldn't get here, for one reason or another? There's all sorts of things that could happen. The government has done, it was like in a congressional report where the Department of Defense said that the biggest terrorist threat to our country right now is actually an EMP attack that would attack the power grid. And if that goes out, they estimate that 90% of the people in the United States will be dead within 18 months. Because it's not like you just flip the switch. It takes a while to get that infrastructure rebuilt. So my plea to us all is to start rethinking the food system, like a lot of areas are, and this is where it starts to get fun. There are places in this country where people have had to become self-sufficient, many of them in the inner cities, because they don't have grocery stores within a 5-mile radius. And so people have had to come together, and there's some amazing projects that are going on. And I'm looking at this whole burn thing,
and as an opportunity for all of us all over the county and the North State to just start rethinking. We have so many resources here. We can grow year round. I mean, it's just phenomenal what can happen up here. And if we all start to come together, which we are, it's kind of pretty exciting what's going on. It's slow because everything that involves organizations and/or governments takes time. So I'm going to talk about some of the slower things and then also about some of the things that we can do without, as independents, which are actually far more productive and fun, and as I like to say, tasty. And I was listening to the talk about the zones, and I thought that, the zone captains, you guys already have like groups, organized where you could start bringing in ideas about ways to grow more food. And I was thinking about the difference in this growing zones between here and Chico, where I live. And I was talking to Jennifer back there. She's from the Paradise Guild. She ran the garden. It still does. I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end too. But that you can grow food up here, and they do grow food in Milwaukee and Detroit in the wintertime. It just takes rethinking things and covering crops. And I would imagine it's even easier here than it might be in Milwaukee and Chicago and Detroit. I don't know. Anyway, so what are some of the long-term things? There are governmental things going on. We're having a convergence on October 24th. And I'm getting farmers there, and it'll be policy people and all sorts of good stuff going on there to try and find ways to be able to get, like you guys, more food. So for instance, I know Donna was working with the Certified Farmers Market that used to come up here, and they would love to come up here, but they're prohibited. Okay, they wanted to do basically where they could aggregate. Not all the farmers would want to come up here just because there's such a smaller population now. But what a great solution to aggregate all of them and bring it up in a couple of trucks, right? Instead of each of the individuals having to come up. Well, the California Department of Food and Agriculture won't let them do that. Is that crazy or what? An individual could do it. So like if somebody in a zone or something, if somebody got sparked, from this conversation and really wanted to get more fresh food up here instead of everybody having to drive down all the time, an individual could go and create basically a CSA in a box, or could, go down, get a bunch of produce from the farmers at the farmers market down in Chico or Oroville, and then bring it back up here. And you could have like a gathering place. Like, did any of you ever do buying clubs before, like in the 80s and the 90s, when a bunch of families would get together and you could order like 50-pound sack of flour or something like that, and as long as you had $500 between all of you, that they would make a delivery from a distribution center. I'm not sure if they still do that. Mountain people used to do it, but that's how the Chico Natural Foods Co-op started. It was just a buying club. So you could do the same kind of thing up here. All it takes is somebody that has an interest in it. And it could also be a money-making venture, because you could tack on a little bit of money for your time and your effort. And it would certainly seem like it would be worthwhile, for people to not have to spend an hour driving, an hour plus driving, to go down and get to the farmers markets and stuff like that. So, but I'm gonna start working on getting, CDFA to change, because it seems ridiculous in a time of emergency that they would prohibit farmers being able, to help people as much as we possibly can. I've also heard that there's food insecurity still going on up here. And so I think that it's a great opportunity. I'm just learning about all this now from Donna. I was talking to her. And there are people who care and who are trying to come up with creative ways, but it would be really great to engage, a bunch more of you guys if you're interested in something like that. Let me see. One of the places I'd like to share about is Vermont. Vermont has probably got their act together with the local food scene more than anybody in the country. They only have a very short growing season, and yet they all came together and decided that local food was really important for a whole lot of reasons, one of which is an amazing opportunity for a local economy. And what they did was they brought in 25 different stakeholders, and they created this Farm to Plate initiative. And their goal was to go from 5% local food, which is what they were at, up to 10% in 2010, to 10% in 2020, but they made it to 12% in 2018. Along the way, they created something like 7,000 something new jobs and like 800 or 900 new businesses. And so it can be a really great opportunity. And I was driving up here thinking, wow, wouldn't it be interesting if the Ridge became like an exporter, you know what I mean, of different stuff, and it could be really used to like revitalize and to enliven a community to be able to have that. Plus, eating together, when you have your parties, your block parties or your whatever, food is a central part of that, and it's just fun to gather around food. There's, far less divisiveness, you're just coming together to have a good time. You make an agreement maybe not to talk about politics, and just, or this or that, and you just come together in community, and it can really, really strengthen, things like sharing showers. It's true. Everybody up here and everybody that I've ever met that's been impacted by this has their hearts open, because life as you know it could be gone in a second, and for many people it was. Whether it's, losing a home or just, losing a place to work or wherever, the community bond becomes much more important and much stronger because I don't know how many have heard this saying before, but those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And that's kind of one of my mottos. And, one of the things I say is that we could do all this stuff and it may seem like a lot of work, and if a catastrophe never comes again, who cares, man? It's been fun along the way. It's a win-win-win-win-win. We've got more food security, food that tastes a lot better. We've got more fun with our communities. We've got more neighbors that we can say hi to, and our kids get to grow up in a place that we all could be really, really proud of and feel safe again. Some of the things that we're doing in this county, like I said, I was introduced from the Good Food Brigade. That was the national organization I started a couple of years ago, but I'm focused here now, so I am kind of like the spearhead of the Butte County Local Food Network, or as I call myself, the instigator-in-chief rabble-rouser. We do just about anything we can to strengthen local food systems. So we work with the farmers markets by amplifying them and trying to get folks to come, working with them for little programs in the market. We support community gardens, and I would love to encourage folks to rethink up here. Where could we do a community garden? We've got a bunch of young people that are really excited about composting and having neighborhood hubs where people bring their compost. Maybe it's a community garden. You could take, on your streets, you could do a bunch of front yards or something like that, and everybody can grow. I did that down in Chico with my daughter, and all of a sudden the people in my neighborhood started growing food in their front yard too. And then you can create, potlucks where you get together, and then it can get to this point where you're actually doing canning and preserving together, and having a grand old time. So that can be a lot of fun, just like in your neighborhoods. And that doesn't take any kind of policy. I don't know if you have HOAs here, sometimes they can get in the way of stuff, but do you have a lot of those up here? But sometimes not. What? Yes, we got it. Yeah, okay. Is it like a big, is it everywhere?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, everything can be in flux, and everything can change. And I've seen some pretty amazing things change that I never thought could happen. So I am, fully on board with, see something you want, let's, find a workaround and see if we can get it done. Another thing that we're doing something called the Victory Garden Blitz. How many of you know about Victory Gardens? They were a function, our government decided during the World Wars that they wanted to encourage people to grow their own food so that the larger farmers could be growing all the food for the troops. So they did this huge propaganda campaign, created all these beautiful posters, and get everybody excited about growing our own food. And we grew 42% of all the produce that we eat in this country in our yards. It's pretty incredible. So my thing is if we do it for war, how about we do it for love and community, instead, and not rely on the government and get going on our own. So one of the ways that we're encouraging that is doing this blitz. It's modeled after a program out of Milwaukee called the Victory Garden Initiative, where they get people sign up, and we go out and we put up 4x4 foot boxes. In our area, we're going to be giving people 6 plants, and we're also going to be offering mentoring beforehand in order to place it in the best place, and then afterwards mentoring to help make sure that the gardens don't die, because a lot of especially newbies get a little nervous. Jennifer suggested we also offer buckets, 5-gallon buckets for people because so many folks are displaced or live in apartments or something. So a garden for every size yard is what one of our little taglines is. And we're going to be doing sign-ups start October 1st. The first one, we're going to only do 50, and we're going to stay down in Chico so that we can work out all the ropes. We figure the water situation is a little iffy up here. But then in the spring, in the fall next year, we want to do another 50, but focus more on the ridge. And, work and maybe encourage people to, step out and grow their food in the winter months and learn about that and grow confident in that. Yeah?
Maybe you could come up here, go to Magalia, because we do have water up here for some of those that can't go to Chico.
Okay, all right.
Involved in that.
Definitely, we'll talk to my team. I'm a little hesitant because the first time you do anything that's this involved with, constructing 50 gardens in a week, you're bound to make mistakes, like huge ones, coordinating and stuff like that. We're getting mentoring from the folks in Milwaukee, but it's always, but yeah, I'll talk to the team and, mention that Megalia's got water and that would be great. Okay? So, yeah.
You mentioned the CSA.
Yes.
I love that idea. I'm very familiar with it, but I don't know if everybody else knows how a CSA actually works.
Okay, sure. So CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and what that usually looks like is that you connect with a farm and you give them a certain amount of money throughout the year, every month. And sometimes times are a little bit leaner, and sometimes times are a little bit more abundant. But the farm is able to continue functioning because it's got the steady supply. And generally speaking, farmers are asked to bear all the costs, for up front, and it makes it really difficult for them to survive. So we have a couple of them. Do you have one going? You don't have one up here, or you didn't have one in Paradise. There's another model that's going on in Oroville being done by a guy named Matthew Trum, and he just calls it Co-op a Box. And what he basically does is what would probably be going on up here is aggregating a bunch of products and then delivering or having a delivery place where a centralized delivery place where people can go pick up their boxes. Yeah?
I have just a quick question. You had mentioned that could not have a law regulation of some sort that would not allow having like a farmer's market up here?
Well, there's, you'd have to talk to Richard, who runs the markets, but there's some kind of a barrier, but he's hoping to be back up in Paradise in May, if not earlier, he said. I talked to him today, so I will be a little more updated. But the part that the CDFA would not allow, which is what he wanted to do from the get-go, was that the certified farmers market, like he, would gather all the farmers and bring food up instead of all the farmers coming. That was what was illegal. And then he also, there was something about the water or something. Yeah.
What I had heard, this was back in the spring, that why the farmers market wasn't here is because of the air quality. They couldn't say it was completely pure or whatever because of all the debris removal, the trucks, just everything in the air. And that was the reason I heard that they didn't allow the farm. We used to have one at the CNN church on Tuesday, and that was one of the reasons they didn't allow that. That's just what I heard.
Yeah.
So it's possible then to.
So once the air quality, they deem that the air quality is okay, which it hasn't.
There's nothing stopping, like little mini farmers markets. One of the things, there's a place down in Chico called the Blackbird Cafe. They just have farmers come in their trucks, or they, the farmers drop something off in the truck. I mean, there's just nothing, if anybody has a truck, there's nothing stopping anybody from just using the, I'm so sorry, I forgot, the Dogtown, what was it? The
Downtown Howler.
The Town Howler, you know, as an organizing place or some kind of a Facebook page. You know, there are all sorts of places that have popped up, pages that have popped up. Like one of them is called the Black Farmers Market or the Black Market Farmers Market or something like that, where it's a closed group and people just, you know, share and sell amongst each other, and all that takes is a little bit of energy and time. There's so many things that can go on, you know, that are much more powerful, I believe, and much more effective. And yet, at the same time, we've got to get some laws changed. There are some places, and I don't know what your zoning is up here, I would love to see, like down in Chico, you can grow food on your lawn, you can give it away, you can go somewhere else and sell it, but you can't sell it off of your lawn because then it's a dual zoning thing going on. Is that weird or what? Yeah, so I'm trying to get the zoning changed in Chico so that people can grow stuff in their backyard. You can do it in the county, you can, you know, and I don't know what your law is up here, but there are, like, and sometimes it just takes talking to the health department and the planning commission just to find out what your laws are up here, and then just start the slow process, because things are changing and people are really opening up, like city councils and, you know, boards of supervisors at the county level, because they see, you know, they go to these conferences and they see that a lot of people around the state and the country are starting to really open up opportunities for people to become more food secure and more food sovereign. Any questions? Yeah?
Well, actually, I have a statement.
Okay.
I would like everyone to consider using the natural resources we have up here, such as fish, deer, bear, and things like that. Get your hunting license, do it legally. You cannot sell the meat, but you can share it. And it's really good for you.
There's, and there'd be like, go out and, you know, like together, you know, and make it a communal thing, you know, and, you know, it's a good time, families share. You know, we always used to do that kind of stuff. We always share our resources with each other. Is my time up? Yeah. Okay, cool.
But you've given us a wealth of information. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about there. So is Wade here? Wade Killingsworth, that will, from the Butte Firewise Council, giving us an update, okay? He'll probably maybe be here on the next meeting. And then I think we're pretty much at the end of our meeting. So we have our next meeting. Upcoming meetings. Okay, our next meeting, October 24th, November 21st, and December 19th. Those are important because they haven't changed due to the holiday, as John pointed out. Because all of those meetings before were just falling right into that. They'll all still be here. And we have, I know, I want to make an announcement, and I know Tony wants to make an announcement. So before we stop here, or unless people have other announcements too. How many people here got the Dogtown Howler? Yay! Awesome. How many people here saw a green little blip that asked for your input on the square foot housing restriction in the POA? For the rebuilds. Did we see that? Okay. And that there was, because I'm Marcella C., it says on there, Marcella C. wants to know, she really does, want to know how the people in the, only POA members, by the way, are to weigh in their opinion on whether they think that that's a good thing, whether we want to change it up, down, whether we want to get waivers to people that lived here before the fire and can't meet that 1,200 square foot minimum. So there is, you can write to the Dogtown Howler, there's a P.O. box.
And it's also online.
And it's also online. P.O. Box
264.
264 Magalia, 95954. Thumbs up, thumbs down. There's 3 questions that are asked there. Do you like the size of 1,200 square feet? Do you want to keep that? Okay. Do you want to go back to what it was amended in 1995, the CCNRs were, from 800 square feet to 1,200 square feet? Do we want to go back to 800 square feet? Up, down, no argument. Plus, we would also like to know, or are we just thinking maybe you want a variance for the people that lived here before that can't meet that 1,200 square feet minimum? Up, down. Okay. And there's 2 reasons I want this. One, I would like to see how many people, I mean, really, what is the leaning overall? But really more important, what I want is, and what we have a problem with the POA, is people letting their wishes be known to the POA. You need to actually tell them what you want and what you don't want, so that we can perhaps bring this to a vote. You know, 25 years ago was a long time ago when they thought going from 800 to 1,200 was a good idea. But we've had an extraordinary event happen, and 25 years, people have changed how they think. So it's just a matter of, I'm not saying one way or the other, but wouldn't it be nice to know that, you know, the majority of the membership wants that one way or the other. But you have to vote. You have to let it be known. So please do this for me. You'll probably hear me talk about it again at the next meeting. Yes.
Before you kick them loose, just want to remind you folks, we've got Cal Hope back here. They can give you all kinds of information on nutrition.
Mental health mostly.
Mental health, you name it.
Eat your vegetables.
They do it all.
Thank you very much. And tell
Well,
me.
it does prevent, you know, me getting crazy. The other thing is if you haven't seen it, this is the chart for the map for the proposed park. Come up and take a look at it. There's a lot of things happening over here, and if you haven't had a chance to look at it, be sure to take a look at it.
I think that's a great idea. Tony, are you here? Where are you? Tony Alza. Oh, yes, come on. Tony Alza. Yes, no?
They're
okay.
$20.
Yes.
They're running a little bit small.
Okay, one last
And
thing.
I'm
One
gonna,
last thing.
Just order a size larger.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I could get
Tony, come on in here.
information on it,
This is
so I
what we're
could.
looking for.
Yes.
You got my email
One last
address,
thing.
I'm Ronnie, you never responded back about doing the advertising.
I, here, hold on. Let me.
In January, we're going to have, probably still have, it will be in, probably in March, a meeting specifically on insurance. However, I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, I just saw it today on the email, City of Paradise is having a meeting. We're going to have someone from the insurance department speak, and I highly recommend that everybody go there. If there's any information that I personally feel that is incorrect, make sure you get that out to me. But it's Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, you can also.
At the Alliance Church.
What's the date? Just to let you know.
The second.
The vendor that.
Is that what it is? The second, yeah. I'm getting my meetings mixed up. Yes, that's CMA. But I highly recommend that everybody go because this is highly evolving. Companies are getting, pardon me, in and out of the market. And there's a lot I think that we can do. But I'll wait and we'll see how this meeting goes and when we have ours. If there's any updates, we'll bring them to you. But try and attend that meeting and think about it.
Okay, super. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Next month, I know Donna will be here. And,
I know.